My name is Diana Foster, and I'm about to tell you about the day that changed everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in June. The garden venue was decorated with white roses and flowing silk ribbons. My brother Marcus was getting married to Catherine, a woman our family had welcomed with open arms for the past 2 years. I had chosen a soft pink dress for the occasion. As Marcus's only sister, I wanted everything to be perfect for him. We'd grown up in a small house in Georgia, just the two of us and our mother after Dad passed. Marcus was my protector, my best friend, the person who taught me to ride a bike and helped me through my first heartbreak. Now, he was starting his own family, and I couldn't have been happier for him. My husband James and I arrived early. We'd been married for 5 years, and while we had our ups and downs like any couple, I trusted him completely. He was steady, reliable, the kind of man who remembered anniversaries and called when he'd be late. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 o'clock. By 3:30, guests were arriving, finding their seats among the garden chairs. I was helping with last-minute details when I realized I'd forgotten the emergency sewing kit in our car. The parking area was tucked behind a hedge of tall boxwoods, out of sight from the main garden. As I walked around the corner, I heard voices, low voices, intimate voices. I should have announced myself. I should have turned around, but something in the tone made me freeze. Then I heard the laugh, James's laugh, that soft chuckle he saved for private moments. I stepped closer, my heart beginning to pound in a way that had nothing to do with the summer heat. Through a gap in the hedge, I could see them. James, my James, standing close to Catherine. Too close, his hand on her waist, her fingers touching his collar. And then they kissed. Not a friendly kiss, not a congratulatory kiss. A kiss that spoke of familiarity and longing and history. The world tilted. I grabbed the hedge to steady myself, thorns biting into my palm. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to tear through those bushes and demand answers, but my legs wouldn't move. They pulled apart slowly, reluctantly. Catherine smoothed her wedding dress and whispered something I couldn't hear. James nodded, his expression pained but tender. Then she hurried back toward the bride's room, and he walked in the opposite direction, toward the guests. I stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only 2 minutes. My mind raced through possibilities, excuses, explanations. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe it was a goodbye kiss from an old relationship, a final closure before she married my brother. But I knew, deep in my bones, I knew. This wasn't new. This had been going on. Slowly, I walked back to the garden. Guests were chatting, laughing, completely unaware. I spotted James near the bar, talking to Marcus's best friend, looking perfectly normal, looking like the man I'd trusted with my whole heart. Then I found Marcus. He was in the groom's room, adjusting his tie in the mirror, his face lit up with the kind of joy that only comes on your wedding day. When he saw me in the doorway, his smile grew even bigger. Diana, how do I look? I'm so nervous my hands are shaking. I opened my mouth to tell him. The words were right there, ready to destroy his perfect day, his perfect moment, everything he'd been planning for months. But I looked at his face, at the pure happiness there, and I hesitated. You look perfect, Marcus, I said softly. He laughed and pulled me into a hug. I can't believe this is really happening. Catherine's the one, Diana. I've never been so sure of anything. My heart cracked a little more. Marcus, I started, but he was already talking again, words spilling out in nervous excitement about their honeymoon plans, about the house they'd put an offer on, about how he wanted to start a family right away. I stepped back and looked at my brother, really looked at him. And I made a decision that I still question to this day. I need to tell you something, I said quietly, but not right now. Come find me after the ceremony, okay? Before the reception, he frowned, picking up on my tone. Is everything okay? You look pale. I'm fine. Just promise you'll come find me? Of course. I walked back out to the garden and took my seat. James slid in beside me, reaching for my hand like always. I let him take it, feeling the warmth of his palm against mine, wondering how many times he'd held Catherine's hand the same way. The music started. Everyone stood. Catherine appeared at the end of the aisle in her white dress, looking radiant and beautiful and like the biggest liar ever known. I watched her walk toward my brother. I watched Marcus's face light up when he saw her. I watched them join hands at the altar, and I turned to look at James. Really look at him. He was watching the couple too, his expression unreadable. When I looked at him, he just winked. Like this was all some kind of joke. Like my brother's heart didn't matter. Like our marriage vows didn't matter. Relax, he whispered, leaning close. The main event is about to begin. Those words, that wink, that complete lack of remorse, something shifted inside me. The hurt transformed into something else, something colder and more focused. I sat through the ceremony in silence. I watched them exchange rings and say their vows. I watched my brother kiss his new wife while everyone applauded, and I started planning. The reception moved to the garden pavilion. Music played. People danced. Marcus and Catherine cut the cake, and I smiled for the photos like a good sister should. But I was watching, observing, noticing the small glances between James and Catherine. The way they avoided standing too close. The way they both seemed nervous whenever I was nearby. During dinner, I excused myself and went back to that hedge where I'd seen them. I looked around carefully until I found it. Catherine's lipstick print on James's collar, hidden under his jacket. Evidence. Not that I needed it. I knew what I'd seen, but evidence helps. I returned to the reception and waited for the right moment. It came during the toasts. Marcus's best friend went first, telling funny stories about their college days. Then Catherine's maid of honor spoke about love and commitment and forever. Then Marcus stood up and asked if his sister would say a few words. Everyone turned to look at me expectantly. James shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Catherine's smile froze on her face. I stood slowly, picking up my champagne glass. My hands were steady. My voice, when I spoke, was calm. Marcus, I said, looking at my brother, I promised I'd tell you something after the ceremony. I think now is the right time. The pavilion grew quiet. Marcus looked confused but curious. Okay. Today I discovered something about love and loyalty, I continued. I discovered that sometimes the people closest to us, the people we trust most completely, are capable of betrayal we never could have imagined. James's face went white. Catherine's hand trembled as she set down her glass. Diane, Marcus said slowly. What are you talking about? I looked at him with all the love and sorrow I felt. I caught your new wife and my husband kissing in the parking lot 2 hours before your wedding, and from what I saw, it wasn't their first time. The silence that followed was deafening. Then everything happened at once. Catherine stood up, stammering denials. James tried to grab my arm. Marcus just stared, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and then dawning horror. That's not we didn't, Catherine started, but I held up my hand. Don't. I saw you. I heard you. And James's response when I looked at him during your vows? He winked at me and told me to relax because the main event was about to begin. Like your marriage was entertainment. Like my brother's trust was a joke. Marcus turned to Catherine, his voice breaking. Tell me it's not true. She couldn't. The guilt was written all over her face. Marcus looked at James next, his best man, his friend since childhood. How long? James opened his mouth, closed it, then said quietly, 8 months. 8 months. While we were planning this wedding, while Marcus was choosing his ring, while I was shopping for my dress, completely oblivious. What happened next was chaotic. Marcus walked away from the head table without a word. Guests were whispering. Some leaned, others frozen in shock. Catherine was crying. James was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't hear him over the ringing in my ears. I found Marcus sitting alone on a bench by the garden gate. I sat down beside him, and we were quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, you could have told me before. Saved me from all of this. I know. I almost did. I'm sorry. He shook his head. No, if you'd told me alone, I might have. I don't know. Convinced myself I'd misunderstood. Made excuses. But this way, there's no denying it. No going back. We sat together as the sun set, two siblings who'd always protected each other, now protecting each other from the same betrayal. The months that followed were difficult. Marcus had the marriage annulled. It had never been consummated. They'd planned to wait until their wedding night, so the process was faster than a divorce would have been. I left James. He tried to explain, to justify, to promise it meant nothing. But I kept hearing that whisper in my head. The main event is about to begin. I couldn't forgive the cruelty of those words. Catherine moved away. We heard she and James tried to make a relationship work after everything fell apart. But it didn't last. Apparently, the guilt was too much. Funny how that works. Marcus and I grew even closer. We bought a duplex together, not living together, but side by side, looking out for each other the way we always had. It's been 2 years now,